Hello everyone again, and thank you so much for attending our first webinar. We're really excited to have you here. So we will just start, and as people are coming in, we will welcome them and they can join. So this is the first webinar. Our title is Protect Your Organization, Get to Know Mobile Security. Let me introduce myself really quickly. I'm the marketing executive. I've been sending you the invitations and the email reminders, etc. So hello, this is me. Let me get to the webinar outline. We will do this smart introduction. Afterwards, Jasper will take over, our solution architect, by presenting the main subjects of this webinar. He will also do the Q&A. We will have a special Q&A section at the end of this webinar. It's a very short webinar. We try to have around 40 minutes, a 25 minutes session, and the Q&A and closure around 10 minutes. The closure will be done by Heidi Allard. She is our country manager for Trinidad and Tobago. So yes, let's keep starting. Thank you everyone, and I hope you enjoy the webinar. Jasper, take over. Jasper. Hello.
I should unmute my microphone maybe. Good morning. My name is Jasper. I am currently at Microsoft Ignite in Atlanta, so I'm joining here some 25,000 IT professionals from all over the world to hear all the latest and the greatest on Server 2016 and on Office 365 and on security and what have you. So I'm having a very inspiring week over here. I just took some pictures. The picture that you see in the left is right behind me right now. I found a really quiet corner over here. So I'm just presenting from over there, and you are sitting in Trinidad and Curacao, and I see people from Ecuador, and so we're really all over the place. So that is a very nice features of Skype for Business. So that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about protecting your mobile organization. And we decided to make a very non-technical webinar. So I won't talk about the technology, but I will try to explain why it is relevant and what happened. How did we get into the situation we are sitting in right now? And then we're going to talk about what options do you have and how can you start to protect your content, your mobile organization, your organizational assets. So let's move on. So what happened? In my opinion, IT was a little bit too late. So let's just have a quick look at what happened. So 6 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago, or for some companies even shorter ago, our network is where our PCs are. That is what we called our network. That was the corporate local area network. You connected over the wire, and that PC was connected to the corporate network. But nowadays, we should rather say our network is where our users are. Look at where we are all right now. So that is a huge difference, of course, in trying to protect your organizational data. Then again, 6 years ago, we had one screen per user. You had your desktop in your office, and that was it. And that screen, that desktop was company owned, so the company could manage everything on there. You were not allowed to download stuff, or you were not allowed to go to facebook.com or whatever. That was a locked down workstation. But nowadays, users can have up to 5 screens. So they work from home on a Windows PC, on a Macintosh. They have their Android phones, their Symbian phones, their Blackberries, and what have you. So the question is, are those devices, are those screens managed in any form? Then again, 6 years ago, our data used to sit in our data center. But now our data sits anywhere. It sits on your mobile phone, it sits on your iPad, it sits on your home computer, it sits on your laptop, it sits anywhere. And then again, 6 years ago, access to organizational content was only possible from within the corporate network. Maybe there were some users who had some kind of VPN privileges, so they could access the corporate network remotely over a VPN connection and do some work from a remote location. But mainly it was within the corporate network, and when it's 5 o'clock and you go out, you have no more access. But now, with all the cloud services out there and all the mobile devices, we have access from anywhere, anytime, any place for anyone. I mean, you just punch in your credentials on whatever device you're sitting at, and you have access to your email and maybe even your file servers or whatever. So those are huge differences. And what is going on right now in a lot of organizations is this. So that's a Dutch expression, like an ostrich who puts his head in the sand. I know nothing, so nothing is happening. If you don't see it happening, there is nothing happening. And we really do not want to know about, nor be responsible for, all the stuff that I wrote down below. So data leakage, privacy sensitive information, content protection, access control. We just gave away all those privileges. And even if we didn't give away all those privileges to our users nowadays are very smart. So users will use email attachments, they will use Dropbox and WhatsApp and Facebook and WeTransfer. So they use all kind of tricks that bypass your local IT. And it's all uncontrolled, unsecure, and unprotected. You have totally no control. And this is called shadow IT. So shadow IT can be defined as users being smart, finding their own way of sharing content with whoever they want to share it with. And I think that can be a pretty dangerous situation. So recently I spoke to a CEO and he was not aware of this, and I said, do you have an iPad? He said, yes, I have an iPad. So I asked him, do you have corporate content on that iPad? He said, yes, I have corporate content on that iPad. And then I asked him, do you allow your grandson on Sunday afternoon to play with your iPad? And he said, yes. And then he frowned, and then he suddenly became aware that that is maybe not a smart situation to have corporate content sitting unprotected on whatever device. So this is really the point I want to make, that as long as we do not acknowledge that there is a security issue going on, then we do nothing. Then we just keep our head in the sands and pretend everything is fine until something happens. And then suddenly it is not fine. And for the IT people in this conversation, in the end, the business will point at the IT department. Hey, that's your responsibility. Why didn't you set that up correctly? So now we have to move forward and make sure that IT departments start working on this. But they cannot do that alone. So taking the responsibility means that the business, not the IT department, this is about business decisions. IT has nothing to do with it, only for the technical part. The business now has to sell the hard news that given privileges will be taken back from users. Because now we simply allow them to do everything from any device, from any place. And that is really too much. So the business will have to make, I always call them written policies that state who has access to what and under which circumstances, which conditions. And maybe you could even ask the question why. So this is really fundamentally something that business will have to do. So that's higher management CIO, CFO, CEO, you name it. And of course they can be advised by IT people, but this is really something that concerns everybody in the business. And probably it will concern mainly higher management, because they are the road warriors traveling around with their devices and want to connect from everywhere. So then when we look at the technology, so from different vendors, the technology is available. We can do crazy stuff, really crazy stuff. I can allow you to sit in McDonald's over a unsecured wireless connection, and then you can read your email, but you cannot read your attachments. Then you move next door at Starbucks, because there they have a secured wireless network, and then you can even access your attachments. So I can really do that very, very granular. So that means that the IT people in your IT departments, they must be trained in mastering that technology, because there is really a lot out there. If we look at the three major vendors, so that is AirWatch by VMware, then we have Zen Mobile by Citrix, and we have the Enterprise Mobility and Security Suite by Microsoft. There is so many options in there, and you have to really master that technology to, in the end, enforce the written policies that were made by the organizations, by the business. So it's not the task, in my opinion, it is not the task of the IT department to make those policies. IT will just enforce the policies by pushing the correct buttons in the software. So, technology. We have to think about a couple of things before we can even start making those written policies. So if you allow people, so these 3 points are about Windows computers. So you may allow people to bring their own device, bring their own laptop into the company, plug it into the network, or work remotely or whatever. So for those machines, you want to make sure that there is a decent endpoint protection system running, so that's antivirus, anti-malware, whatever. You want to make sure that those Windows PCs are updated, so all the security patches that come out every month on Patch Tuesday are applied to those machines, and you want to make sure that somehow you can manage, if those PCs are not inside the corporate network, that somehow those PC firewall settings are enforced. That those are relevant things to think about when we talk about Windows PCs. Then when we move ahead to the mobile devices like your iPhone or your Android phone or your Windows phone or your iPad or whatever, we can make a distinction between really mobile device management. How far can you go with really manage the device? But you can also do it more granular and look at mobile application management. So when we talk mobile application management, a lot of people have a private email address and a corporate email address. So with mobile application management, we can make a distinction between the person's private email address and the person's organizational email address. And we can do a selective remote wipe if the phone gets stolen, that we only take out the portion of the organizational content, and the private content will stay in. That's up to the user, because it's mainly the user's device. Also, you could also decide as a policy that users are only allowed to access corporate content on corporate devices, meaning that you will buy the devices for them and have them as managed devices. So it's either bring your own device or it's choose your own device, and you will have to choose from a list that the organization allows you to use. Then we can have a look at content protection. So there is really great stuff out there on a technical level that you can protect an Office document, let's say a Word document. You can protect that wherever the document is. So if it's in an attachment, if it's on a USB device, if it's on a local hard drive somewhere, we have the ability to protect that content wherever it sits. You can think about stuff. I explained that already with the McDonald's and the Starbucks information. You can have conditional access. So you only have access to your finance system if you are working from only that PC, or only from that physical location, or only from a Windows device and not from a Macintosh or whatever. So that is, we call that conditional access. So you have access, but only under certain conditions. So here I just mentioned a couple of technologies, right management services. That is the protection of your Office content, of your Excel spreadsheets and your PowerPoints and your Word documents and your PDFs, wherever they are. We have very nice features on data leakage preventions, because a lot of users are just not aware of leaking information. So I always take the example in data leakage prevention that a social security number of an employee can never be mailed to the outside world. Well, we can set a policy for that as soon as somebody tries to put in a social security number in an email, that the user will get a warning, hey, you are not allowed to do this, and then we can even make it more granular. The user can override it with a reason, or the user can ask permission with a manager. Can I please send this mail outside? And as soon as the manager says, I approve that, then the mail can go to the outside world. So that is called data leakage prevention. And then there is an option of encrypting all your emails. So that means that if a false recipient receives that email, he will not be able to decrypt the message. So he only will see a lot of rubbish, but not the real content of the email. And let me point out to you that this is not the list. The list goes on and on and on and on. So it's really going to be a very tough job, and you really must make some time for that to come to those written policies. Who has access to what and why and under which circumstances? I'm going to skip the part on the advanced threat analysis. So let's look at Inova is a Microsoft shop, so let's have a very brief overlook on the Microsoft portfolio in that. So if you have Office 365 or you run an Exchange server on premises, and your mobile devices connect to that system through ActiveSync, then you can do a remote wipe if the mobile device is lost or compromised or whatever, or you can block and allow access to specific mobile devices or specific users or even security groups. So that is maybe for some of you already a feature that you already have, but maybe you are not using it yet. So if we take it a bit further, and you run stuff from the cloud, and you have Office 365 and the Enterprise Mobility and Security Suite, you get a lot of features. So that right management services that I talked about, that will not only count for documents you have stored in the Office 365 platform, but it will also work for all documents stored in your local file servers. Then we have something that we call multi-factor authentication. That means that if a user wants to log on into your services, that not only a username and a password is required, but also a mobile phone, and the mobile phone will receive a text message or a one-time password. So the user must have configured that mobile phone so he can have multi-factor authentication. Just an extra layer of authentication security. And then within Microsoft's Intune, there we really get into the stuff of mobile device management and mobile application management. You can manage your Android phones, you can manage your iOS phones, you can set up the conditional access for Exchange and SharePoint and CRM and what have you. So that is really the big product within EMS. It's called Microsoft Intune, and it has a lot of features. And maybe for a lot of your organizations, the nice thing about Microsoft Intune is that you do not need a local infrastructure for that. It's a cloud service. So if you're not into cloud yet, because you might be afraid of putting your data in there, Microsoft Intune has nothing to do with your data. It's only a management tool for managing your devices. So the whole conversation on I don't want to have my data in the cloud is not valid for Microsoft Intune, because you are actually not putting data in the cloud. You're just putting a management tool in the cloud, and that relieves you of installing and configuring configuration manager on premises, buying servers, having SQL servers running, opening your firewalls and whatever. You can just use a cloud service to manage that complete mobile workforce. Then we have something that is called Advanced Threat Analytics, and that is a tool you install in your local network, and it will collect data on your users' behavior. So if your users are not travelers, so they are logging in 99% of their time from within the corporate network, and then suddenly that user logs in from Alaska, and then 2 hours later from Amsterdam, and another 2 hours later from New Delhi, then all kind of alarms will start ringing that, hey, this is unexpected behavior from this user. Probably somebody took his credentials and is trying to log on from remote servers all over the world. And then you get a flag, and your admin will get an email from the system, and then the admin can decide, hey, I'm just going to block this user and have a call with him to say, hey, what happened? And then you can unblock the user by resetting his password, and then you're good to go again. So that's really about analytics. It will just see the normal behavior, and by monitoring that, it will also see unexpected behavior or abnormal behavior. It's really a cool product. So now we have looked at what happened. We have looked at how you as an organization can take responsibility. I gave you a couple of surfaces that you should be aware of, that you can look at, that you can discuss internally with your IT people, with your management people on, hey, okay, so how are we going to approach this? And parallel to that process, your IT staff can start their training in looking at the product, so that in the end they know which buttons they have to push to enforce those written policies. So I think I'm pretty much on time. So people can type in their questions, or let me see if I can unmute. Oh, I muted you all. I can unmute you as well, so you can ask your questions through voice, or you can just type in your question into the conversation box. And then, of course, I will do my best to answer your questions. There is a question coming. I see someone is typing a message. Can I have more info on how to do the remote wipe on mobile phones from Office 365? If you go in as an admin into the admin portal, and you go to the Exchange admin center, There you can click on the user and do a remote wipe of the device. Be a little bit careful with that one because it's a pretty blunt remote wipe. It will actually reset the phone to factory defaults. So take a test phone, put some messages in there, and try it. Don't do it on your let's call it a production phone, because it will just be reset to factory defaults and you have to start all over again with whatever apps you downloaded and put on your mobile phone. Try it out. Is that an answer to your question? Yeah, that is that is always the case. So that is the picture of the ostrich. That hey, the organization just is not aware of the dangers of people having their private mobile phones and then they leave the company. But hey, the content of the company is still on their mobile phone or even on their home computer or whatever. Yes, with Microsoft Intune, you can push policies into iOS, into Android, and into the Windows platform. So Symbian, not really, and BlackBerry, not really. But I think with iPhone and Android, we cover like 98% of the footprint.
Jasper,
Yes.
are there maybe any frequently asked questions that you get around this subject that you can maybe answer? Maybe some questions that every time you get most of the time the same questions.
Well, what I hear mostly if I talk to IT people is, and that is why I set up this presentation like this, when I talk to IT people, they see the risks, but they just cannot convince their management that it is a relevant issue until, of course, it is too late and some content gets really compromised or whatever, and then suddenly management starts looking at IT, and then the only thing IT can say is, I told you so. So it is really relevant to get the whole conversation first out of the technology and into the management layer of a organization to have the discussion on that level. So I think that is the most relevant portion of this whole presentation, that the business must be aware of the critical situation. And they are just not aware, or maybe they are aware, but they don't want to know, and they don't want to be responsible.
All right, Jasper, thank you so much. I don't think there's any other questions, so we will continue. Heidi, do you want to take over?
Sure, I'll just jump in real quickly, and I see you move forward the screen with happy news that folks do have a chance to win a Stream tablet. As Adriana had mentioned at the beginning, this is really the first of what we hope to be many webinars. I absolutely love every time I get to sit down with Jasper and hear him talk, because one of the things I appreciate most is that even though he is a genius from a technical side, he speaks in very plain, understandable English in terms of from a business user perspective. But I promise that even as you go deeper in some of the technical questions, he absolutely has a wealth of information to share there. So there's two things that we want to wrap up with. So one is the survey link, again, that Adriana just put in the chat window. And we're giving you some little incentive if you are able to complete the survey and help us improve. Again, you'll get a chance to win that. And then secondly, and I think, Adriana, you're going to put a link to this too, what we want to encourage, because while the information and even the questions and thinking through the scenarios is great, one of the things that we want to help with is to be able to make it real within your organization. And so to that end, we have a link, again, that Adriana just put there, where we can schedule a demo with you one-on-one. It can be with your IT team, it can be with your business users, and other stakeholders in the organization. As Jasper rightly pointed out, this is not an IT issue. IT can enable, they can provide the technologies and so forth, but the issues that the business faces is really one of business users and managers. And so whenever possible, we always like to include stakeholders from the business side as well. And so what you can do whenever you hop on or whenever you see that demo link there, we have teams here in Trinidad. I am based. We have people on the ground in Jamaica, Curacao, Ecuador, and Jasper is kind of all over the place. I actually, Jasper, whenever you're talking, I almost feel like I was up in Atlanta with you this week for a little bit, and we got a little taste of Microsoft Ignite, so that was good. And so we have resources kind of all over, and we certainly want to work with you guys specifically and see how we can make it work in your organization. Now, Adriana, I'm seeing that somebody's saying that the survey link does not work. So maybe we can just kind of test that out beforehand, or Adriana, if you can check. Oh, I guess she just put another link in there. So we have that going on. So Jasper, thank you very much for all of your insight. Adriana, thank you for organizing, because I think it's great whenever we can get a lot of people together. I think it's helpful to even see, when some of the questions come in, it helps us to understand even what other organizations are facing as well. So it's a great tool to have. I see the question in terms of excuse me, the question in terms of Jasper. So I don't know if he's sharing his email, but in addition, what you could do, Donraj, is you can, if you click on the link. Oh, good. So Jasper, you did put in your email address. And that's good, but you can also, again, whenever we schedule the demo, Jasper is involved in that. So you can do it either through emailing Jasper, but also so we don't clog up his inbox. If you want to click on the demo, you can schedule it that way too. So I think that is it. Again, a big thanks to everybody who attended. Adriana will make sure to get you all the resources, and I think we have everything there. Jasper, Adriana, if you guys want to say bye, but otherwise I think we are finished.
Thank you, and just a small reminder for our next webinar, which will be next month, October 27th. About the winner, we will announce our winner through our social media. Make sure you like us. I will send that all through email. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for your time.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.